Good morning, students. We are doing with the chapter The Enemy, written by Pearl S. Buck. Till now, we have read that it is a time of World War II. We read that Dr. Sadao's house was built near to Japanese coast and he is a very famous surgeon. But then also he was not sent with the Japanese troop in the time of war. An American POW, that is prisoner of war, is washed offshore in a dying state at the narrow beach where Dr. Sadao's house is. Dr. Sadao and Hana are in dilemma what to do with the injured American POW. So let's continue with the chapter. Thus agreed, together they lifted the man. So finally Dr. Sadao and Hana decided that they are going to assure the servants that they would hand him over to the police, and then they lifted this American POW to their house. He was very light, like a fowl that had been half starved for a long time, until it is only feathers and skeleton. So this injured person was very light, and he was like a bird who had not taken food for a pretty long time, and such birds would have weight of only their feathers and bones. So his arms hanging, they carried him to the steps and into the side door of the house. So Dr. Sadao and Hana started carrying the man to their house. His arms were hanging down. So his arms hanging, they carried him to the steps into the side door of the house. This door opened into a passage, and down the passage they carried the man towards an empty bedroom. So they carried him through the side door of the house and then through the passage of the house to an empty bedroom. It had been the bedroom of Sadao's father, and since his death it had not been used. So this bedroom was of Dr. Sadao's father. So we learn in this part of the story that Dr. Sadao's father is no more. So this room, the bedroom of Dr. Sadao, is empty. So they carry this POW in the room of Dr. Sadao's father. And we learned that they took this decision because Dr. Sadao's commitment to professional duty and their humaneness forced them to bring him home. They laid the man on the deeply matted floor. So Dr. Sadao and Hana laid this POW, on a matted floor. Everything here had been Japanese to please the old man, who would never in his own home sit on a chair or sleep in a foreign bed. So everything in this room, the room of Dr. Sadao's father, old man here stands for Dr. Sadao's father, every bit was in accordance to his taste and likings. He disliked the foreign things. So it is a proof that he neither sat on a chair nor slept on a foreign bed all through his life. And this proves that he loved Japan and he was very close to Japanese values and culture. Hana went to the wall cupboards and slid back a door and took out a soft quilt. She hesitated. The quilts were covered. The quilt was covered with flowered silk and the linen was pure white silk. So Hana goes to the cupboards, the wall cupboards, and she slid back the cupboard door and she takes out this soft quilt from the cupboard. Now she is hesitant. Why? The quilt was covered with flowered silk. Why? Because on this quilt was the pattern of flowers and it was of silk. And the linen was pure white silk, and even the linen was of white silk. Now, why was she hesitant? He is so dirty, she murmured in distress. So she resisted placing that silk onto this POW. Why? Because he was dirty, he was soaked with blood and the sand all around, and the silk was beautiful, it was pure. So she murmured very slowly in pain. She says, "He's so dirty." Yes, he had better be washed, Sadao agreed. If you will fetch hot water, I will wash him. So when Hana says that he is so dirty, Sadao agrees that yes, he needs to be washed. that is the body that is soaked with blood and sand, need to be washed. And then he orders or tells Hannah to get hot water so that he can wash it himself. I cannot bear for you to touch him, she said. We shall have to tell the servants he is here. I will tell Yumi now. She can leave the children for a few minutes and she can wash him. So Hannah says that she does not want Dr. Sadao to wash him. She says that we are going to inform to the servants about American POW, and then she is going to instruct Yumi to clean this person. And who is Yumi? Yumi is a governess. She takes care of their kids. She can leave the children for a few minutes, so she will ask Yumi to leave the children for a time being and she will wash this American person. Sadao considered a moment. Let it be so, he agreed. You tell Yumi and I will tell the others. So they both agreed that Yumi is going to clean, and then they both agreed that we are going to talk to servants. That is, Hannah will inform Yumi about this American POW, and Dr. Sadao is going to inform the other servants. But the utter pallor of the man's unconscious face moved him first to stoop and feel his pulse. Now, when Dr. Sadao, before he could go out and talk to the servants, he notices the paleness on the face of this unconscious man, unconscious person. So he stoops down, bends down, and checks on the pulse of this person. It was faint, but it was there. So the pulse was faint, but then it was working, it was there. He put his hand against the man's cold breast. The heart too was yet alive. So he touches the man and sees that even the heartbeat is there. So that means the person is alive, he's not dead. He will die unless he is operated on, Sadao said, considering. The question is whether he will not die anyway. So then Sadao added that even if he was operated and saved, he would die at the hands of the Japanese army. And then he wonders, so either ways he would die. That is, he needs an operation. If he is not operated, he would die. And if he is saved, he would definitely die from the Japanese army. Hannah cried out in fear, don't try to save him. What if he should live? So Hannah, she screamed with fear and she asked Sadao not to save him. Now why? Because Hannah believes that his life has no value. It is not worth saving at all. Because if he is going to live, then it would be a danger to them, to the family, to the kids. So do not try to save him. What if he should die? Sadao replied. Now Sadao questioned that what would happen, what would be the outcome, what would be the result or implication if he would die. He stood gazing down on the motionless man, and he's gazing, he's noticing this unconscious person, and he questions that what are going to be implications if this man dies and dies in their house. This man must have extraordinary vitality or he would have been dead by now. But then he was very young, perhaps not yet 25. So Dr. Sadao says that this person is having a lot of energy. Why? Because he is still alive under such tortures. First, he was shot with a bullet. Then he had faced, the wounds were reopened because of the rocks, and there was an excessive bleeding. So he says that he is a young man, and he says that this young man is 25, and young man have a whole lot of energy. So he is having an extraordinary vitality. You mean die from the operation? So Hannah confirms that you mean to say that during the operation if he dies? Hannah asks, so yes, Sadao said. So Sadao confirms that yes, when I say so, I mean that he might die because of the operation or during the operation. Hannah considered this doubtfully, and when she did not answer, Sadao turned away. At any rate, something must be done with him, he said, and first he must be washed. So Hannah is considering she's pondering this doubtfully that while in the operation or during the operation, if he dies, then what? But then she was speechless, she could not answer. And then Dr. Sadao says that the first thing we need to do is to clean this person. He need to be washed so that an operation can be done. He went quickly out of the room and Hannah came behind him. She did not wish to be left alone with the white man. So Sadao leaves the room and Hannah also did not wanted to be left with this person in the room alone. So she also moves out of the room. He was the first she had seen since she left America, and now he seemed to have nothing to do with those whom she had known there. So this American was the first person they have seen after they have left the America, after they have done with their studies and returned back from America to Japan. And now when the World War is on and things are not good between America and Japan, they do not have anything to do with America or with the Americans. Here he was her enemy, a maniac, living or dead. So this person, that is this American POW, was in their house, and Sadao has given a shelter to this person. So whether he lives or survives or he dies, uh, um, they are into a problem. So if he dies, Sadao has failed as a doctor, and if he survives, then he would be arrested on the charges of sheltering an enemy. So whether living or whether dead, this person was a problem for them. She turned to the nursery and called Yumi. So Hannah goes to nursery and makes a call to Yumi. But the children heard her voice and she had to go in for a moment and smile at them and play with the baby boy, now nearly 3 months old. So as she calls Yumi, the kids hear her voice and then she has to go for a moment to be with them, to smile at them, to play with the baby, and the baby is 3 months old. Over the baby's soft black hair, she motioned with her mouth, Yumi, come with me. So she holds the baby in her arms, and over her soft black hair, she motioned to Yumi that you have to come along with me. I will put the baby to bed, Yumi replied. He is ready. So Yumi said that the baby is ready to sleep, so I will place the baby in the bed first. She went with Yumi into the bedroom next to the nursery and stood with the boy in her arms while Yumi spreading the sleeping quilts on the floor and laid the baby between them. So she goes along with Yumi to the bedroom, and the bedroom was next to nursery, and she is holding the baby in her arms and Yumi is spreading the quilt on the floor so that she can lay the baby to sleep. Then Hannah led the way quickly and softly to the kitchen. The two servants were frightened at what their master had just told them. So Hannah is leading the way, and Yumi is following, and they go to the kitchen. And then in the kitchen, the servants have gathered. Who are the other servants? The two servants are gathered. They are frightened, and they are frightened with what? They are frightened what the master had told. And what the master had told, Dr. Sadao informed the servants that they have sheltered an American POW, and he tries to assure them, or he has said them, that they just intend to operate and hand him over to the police. The old gardener, who was also a house servant, pulled the few hairs on his upper lip. Now, this old gardener had been with the family for a very long time, from when Dr. Sada was a child, when he was a small boy. So when he was really upset and frightened, he was upset. Why? Because they have harbored an American, and frightened that if they are caught, then everyone would be into trouble, they might get arrested. And he was not happy with the news that Dr. Sadao had given to them. And he says the master ought not to heal the wound of this white man, he said bluntly to Hannah. So very straightforward, he says to Hannah that the master, that is Dr. Sadao, should not try to heal the wounds of this person. The white man ought to die. First he was shot, then the sea caught him and wounded him with her rocks. If the master heals what the gun did and what the sea did, they will take revenge on us. So This gardener is of the opinion that master should not treat him. Why? Because this person, this American, is destined to die. Why? Because first he was shot and the dogs have tried to wound him. So if master is trying to go against the destiny, then the Gan and Sea would take revenge from the masters for the master's disobedience. And he believes that this gun is what? This gun stands for, symbolizes Japanese army, and sea symbolizes the country of Japan. So he is of the view that the sea and gun is going to take revenge on us, on everyone. I will tell him what you say, Hannah replied courteously, but she herself was also frightened, although she was not superstitious as the old man was. Now, Hannah very politely says that whatever you are saying, your message, I am going to convey to Dr. Sadao. But then she is not that superstitious as the gardener who believes that the Ganansi would take revenge on everyone, though she is very frightened that what would happen. Could it ever be well to help an enemy? So she wonders that this decision to help him, this decision to save or shelter him, was it wrong? And then nevertheless, she told Yumi to fetch the hot water and bring it to the room where the white man was. So she says to Yumi to come along with the hot water, and she asks her to come in the room that is the grandfather's, Sadao's father's room, where they have placed white man on the floor. She went ahead and slid back the partition. So Hannah is moving forward, or she is moving ahead, and she moves the partition to one side. Sada was not yet there, so Sada was not there in the bedroom. Yumi, following, put down her wooden bucket. So Yumi was following Hana as she places the bucket down. Then she went over to the white man. When she saw him, her thick lips folded themselves into stubbornness. So she goes close to the white man and she notices him. And as she notices him, there was an expression of determination. What determination? It indicated, I have never washed a white man, she said, and I will not wash so dirty a one now. So she very firmly says to Hannah that she has not cleaned a white man before, and such a dirty one that is all injured. Moreover, he is an enemy, he is an American, she is not going to clean. And very straightforward, bluntly, she says to Hannah this. Hannah cried at her severely, You will do what your master commands you. So Hannah reacts very sternly and she says, You have to follow the orders of your master. There was so fierce a look of resistance upon Yumi's round, dull face that Hannah felt unreasonably afraid. Now, when she says sternly to Yumi that you need to do what your master says so, and Yumi resisted very strongly. She resisted, and her dull round face had a dangerous look of protest which scared Hannah. After all, if the servants would report something that was not as it happened. So she got scared at what? She got scared that if the servants report something that had actually not happened, they would report something different, a story, then they would be in a problem. Very well, she said with dignity. You understand, we only want to bring him to his senses so that we can turn him over as a prisoner. So with she calms down, Hannah calms down, and with very politely and with dignity she says okay, and then she makes her understand that you need to simply understand that our idea to shelter an American enemy was to make sure he comes to senses, he becomes conscious again, and then when he is okay, we will hand him over as a prisoner of war. I will have nothing to do with it, Yumi said. I am a poor person and it is not my business. So Yumi said, I have nothing to do what your plans are. My business is not knowing what your plans are with this enemy. I am a poor person and I do not want to fall into any sort of a problem. Then please, Hannah said gently, return to your work. So Hannah very politely says that you can continue with your work. You may leave. At once Yumi left the room, and Yumi leaves the room, and now Hannah and that American unconscious man are left in the room. But this left Hannah with the white man alone. She might have been too afraid to stay had not her anger at Yumi's stubbornness now sustained her. Now Yumi left the room and she was all alone. Hannah was all alone with the white man. She might have been afraid, she might have got frightened to stay with an enemy or to be with an enemy in one room. But then she was very angry. Angry on what? Angry on Yubi's stubbornness, her determination, her firmness not to clean a dirty man or an enemy. So that anger had sustained her and she stayed in the room. Stupid Yumi, she muttered fiercely. Is this anything but a man, and a wounded, helpless man? Now she says in a low voice, she announces that Yumi is stupid. Why? Because this person is a man and moreover he is unconscious and he is wounded. So this is what she feels. In the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and untied the knotted rugs that kept the white man covered. And she she had a superiority. She was the mistress of the house, so she bent close to the wounded person who was lying on the floor, and she tries to untie the knotted rugs, the clothes that he was wearing, the torn clothes that he was wearing. She unties those. When she had his breast bare, she dipped the small clean towel that Yumi had brought into the steaming hot water and washed his face carefully. And then Hannah soaked the small clean towel with the hot water and washed the wounded man's face and body very carefully. The man's skin, though rough with exposure, was of a fine texture and must have been very blond when he was a child. So she kept on washing the upper part of the body, and she is thinking to herself that this person is the skin of his, the texture of his had become rough because of the exposure to sun or to the weather. And when he was child, when this person might have been a child or a small boy, the texture must have been very fine and blonde. While she was thinking these thoughts, though not really liking the man better now that he was no longer a child, she kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. And she kept on washing him until the upper body was clean, and she is thinking, though she is not liking the man because he is no more a child, he is a man and moreover an American. To add to it, he is an enemy. She does not like him, but then she cleaned the upper part of the body. But she dared not turn him over. Where was Sadao? But then she did not have the courage to turn him because he was wounded at the back, and he was bullet ridden, so she did not have the courage to turn the person. Where was Sadao? Now her anger was ebbing and she was anxious again, and she rose, wiping her hands on the wrong towel. And she was wondering, where is Sadao? Why Sadao took so much time? He did not come. And her anger was ebbing, that is, her anger was decreasing now. And she was anxious again and she was getting restless again, and she rose, wiping her hands on the wrong towel, and she stands up and she cleans her hands, wipes her hands with the wrong towel, that is the dirty one. Then lest the man be chilled, she put the quilt over him. So she thought that the man might freeze to cold, so she places the quilt onto the man. Sadao, she calls softly, and very softly she announces to him, Sadao, Sadao, that is, she calls Sadao, that where is Sadao?